This is week 4 for Guardians Legacy, Sprint 2, week 1. We managed to get a lot of stuff done for processing, to get our structure done for later in the week. We're probably going to run out of stuff to do towards the end as our estimate, so we're looking into what we can do for that, along with making sure we get our documentation done, because that was something that we've been needing to work on. Along with that, tasking is going good. I have to re-alter some of the things in that so that that's a little bit easier to recognize. But other than that, we're pretty good, and we just got to make sure that we have our folder structure correct and our source code done. We're going to see about doing iterative builds at least once every sprint along with the regular build, so we're back up to speed. And other than that, I think that's about it, so we'll just let the team go.
So this week I spent a lot of time on another project. I spent a lot of time building a race car game from the game jam we're finishing up for Rainbow Studios. I added the 90-degree angle turns to make the character movement a little more fluid in the animator. In the coming weeks, I'm going to spend a lot of time working on the root motion for the artificial intelligence, and when I finish that, I will assist the other programmers with their tasks.
Thank you. Brendan Lima, I worked on the market stall and generic building 1, changed that to a modular piece, and worked on the different types of walls and unwrapping them. Next week I plan to do 2 more assets from the list, and that should be it.
Zachary Patton worked on doing another generic building to add to the main city area, as well as doing more texturing and miscellaneous object modeling. Next week will be most likely more of the same, a lot more texturing, finishing up the building, and making sure the other artists are well taken care of too.
Peter Tibbles, lead designer. This week's mostly been working on documentation for the node system, as well as stats, combat abilities, and skills and the weaponry. Next week's going to be more of the same, trying to finish up the white boxing I've been doing and getting everything concrete and ready to get passed over to the coders.
Raina Pomisol. This week I worked on combat AI, just making a weighted decision tree so that our AI has a little bit, not quite so just straight random rolls. It's more, we can guide the AI a bit more. Next week I'm going to be working on finishing up the combat AI stuff, and then getting the combat scene all put together and working. And that's it.
Austin Meadowcroft, designer. This week I worked on getting that node system fleshed out a little bit better. Next week we're going to be doing some looking into the wilderness section of the map. We're going to be doing this next sprint.
Connor Bish, designer. I basically just worked on the same stuff the other designers were working on, getting the node system more fleshed out, putting it in the GDD so we have it completed, documented, as well as basic stat and equipment mechanics.
Travis Codian. This week I worked on scriptable objects, a lot more research on them, and made some for like player and enemy stats. And then I started working on some programming for the UI, and next week I'm just going to continue doing more UI programming.
All right. Devin Garrett, lead programmer. This week I was working on UI and also refining some existing things within the game, such as the game manager, and making it so that when you exit the combat scene, you exit it back into the same scene that you originally entered it from, as opposed to simply always moving to the same scene. This allows for, if you're loading from the main menu, to return to the main menu, and if you're loading from any scene in the game, you return to that same scene. And then this next week, I'm going to be wrapping up with UI, and then making sure that everyone else's work is merging properly into the project and helping them with whatever needs to be done.
Michaela Farrell, lead artist. Just basically about 90% done with the UI. I just have to do some fixes and all that fun stuff next week, but once I'm done with that, I can start with the character model next week. So yeah.
All right. Overall, everything's going well. Some blockers. We're just going to make sure that we keep going at the same speed. If we don't, we're going to start crashing, and content is going to start falling apart. So as long as we keep that in mind, along with the fact that we'll have to reassess our workloads depending on if we keep running into very short sprint cycles. We'll have to see about that. Because depending, even after this game jam that we had this week, which had a lot of blockers for content for us, we're still managing to end up light at the end of this. So I'll keep an eye on that and make sure the documentation is correct for the estimates. Other than that, that's Guardian Legacy for week 4 in Sprint 2.